Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. It is time for my favorite video of the week. Our brand new GE Top 25 poll. A set of rankings, guys, that does not care at all about brand bias, does not care about money, does not care about which games are going to look attractive and which games are going to bring in the most ratings. No, a set of rankings, guys, that is based solely on what these teams do, solely based on what happens on the field, and take every single consideration, every single detail into account. That is what we put in to this Top 25 poll every single week. And we've been bringing you this set of rankings all year long. And here we go, heading into Week 12, another Top 25. And we're just ready to break it down for you. Breaking down where each of these teams is ranked, why they're ranked where they are, and what to expect from them heading in to this upcoming week of college football. So let's go ahead and dive on into it, guys. Let's take a look right here at our new GE Top 25 poll heading into Week 12. Only 2 weeks left in the regular season. The playoff race is heating up. The conference races are heating up. You take a look at our rankings, guys. The top 5 remains unchanged, and there's no reason that it should change. Georgia took care of Mississippi State handily, 45-19. Ohio State crushed Indiana, 56-14. Michigan crushed Nebraska, 34-3. TCU won on the road at Texas, 17-10, and what I believe was TCU's best performance of the year so far. Beat Texas 17-10. Tennessee took down Missouri 66-24. None of these teams really struggled. All these teams look good. Top 5 for us stays the same, and the playoff committee's top 5, I believe, will stay the same as well. Then we saw some changes, guys. We saw a couple upsets. Oregon and UCLA were both upset, and we had both of those teams in our top 10 last week. So with both of them losing in crazy fashion, obviously there's some changes. So LSU has moved up a spot to number 6. I was not impressed with LSU in the slightest bit, only beating Arkansas, who was without their starting quarterback, only beating them 13-10. But there was no team behind LSU that I could justify moving ahead of the Tigers, who still do have that quality win over Alabama, who do still have that quality win over Ole Miss by 25 points in Death Valley. So LSU moves up to 6. Alabama moves up 3 spots by beating Ole Miss, who was, by the committee, ranked 11th, beat them 30-24 in Oxford. A lot of credit to Alabama and what they did, coming back down 10 points twice, 10-0. But then we're down 17-7, battled back, stopped Ole Miss in the final seconds to win that game on the road. They move up 3 with an impressive road victory over the Rebels. Utah up 1 to number 8. We had them at number 9 last week. Obviously, the loss of UCLA benefits the Utes. So Utah up to number 8. USC up to number 9. The Trojans are making their first appearance in the top 10 for us. We have not had USC in the top 10 all year long. They finally have earned that top 10 spot, not because of their win over Colorado. They beat the Buffaloes 55-17. Obviously, USC benefited from their other top 2 competitors in the Pac-12, in Oregon and UCLA, losing this last week. Those two top 10 teams lose. USC finds themselves in the top 10 now. Obviously, they will have to continue to prove that they deserve it, that they are worthy of that top 10 spot, and whether or not they truly are a playoff contender. Tough test coming up at UCLA this weekend, and then, of course, would need to win the Pac-12 championship over Oregon, Utah, whoever it may be, to even have a shot at making the playoff. But USC is in the top 10 for the first time this year for us, in at number 9, ahead of Clemson, who moved up 2 spots following their 15-point victory over Louisville. So that is your top 10 here at the Gridiron Expert heading into this weekend. Over in the second column, Penn State up 3 following the 30-0 shutout over Maryland. The Nittany Lions up 3 spots, had them at 14. Obviously benefited from teams losing ahead of them, but certainly benefited from such a strong performance from them as well. Penn State, opportunity to finish the year at 10-2 and could finish in the top 10 and get a New Year's 6 bowl berth. So watch out for the Nittany Lions playing really good football. Only losses to the top two teams in the Big Ten East in Ohio State and Michigan. Right behind them, North Carolina. A lot of credit to the Tar Heels, guys. I didn't think they'd be able to go on the road with that defense and beat a strong offense in Wake Forest. A Wake Forest team that's just imploding. But give credit to Mac Brown and what North Carolina is doing, beating the Demon Deacons 36-34 on the road. UNC, we have moving up 3 spots to number 12. You could make a case that UNC can make the playoff if they win out, including a win over Clemson in the ACC championship game. The likeliness of that very, very slim due to the poor strength of schedule, but North Carolina playing fantastic football right now and earned a very tough road win this last weekend. So they are worthy of that top 12 spot right now. Oregon dropping 7 in our rankings following their loss to Washington. Now, many will say, how do I have Oregon above Washington based on the head-to-head. Well, obviously, we had Oregon at number 6 in our rankings. We had Washington very, very low, had Washington all the way down at number 24. I can't justify putting Washington over Oregon based on when we had those two teams last week. Also can't justify it due to who Washington has lost to. Washington, bad loss, I believe it was to Arizona State just a few weeks ago. That loss to me hurting them more than Oregon's losses to Washington in narrow fashion and Georgia, the number 1 team in the country. So Oregon does have 2 losses. Obviously, they're out of playoff contention now, which is devastating for the Ducks. Always get so close in November, can never finish the job. But to me, deserve to be ranked above Washington as of now, despite losing the head-to-head to just barely. Oregon at 13, Kansas State at 14, moving up 3 spots with a dominating victory at Baylor, beating the Bears 31-3 on the road. Again, God, they're a good team with Will Howard, man. I'm telling you, the Wildcats are the real deal, and you could shape up to see a TCU-Kansas State rematch in the Big 12 Championship in just a few weeks. So Kansas State fluctuating. Can't help but wonder if you're a Wildcats fan where you would be if you had been able to hold on against Texas, only losing that game by 7, and beaten Tulane. Who knows what can be on the table right now, but Kansas State still in the hunt for a New Year's Six bowl berth up at 14. We just touched on Washington, up 9 spots following their big upset on the road at Oregon. Great game by Michael Penix, torching that Oregon secondary, so a lot of credit to the Huskies there. Ole Miss at 16, following their loss to Alabama, dropping only 3 spots. When you lose to Alabama by 6, not blown out, led that game for the majority of it. Got to give Lane Kiffin and the Rebels some credit. They only dropped 3 spots in our rankings, don't deserve to plummet. Can they beat Arkansas this Saturday, though, to maybe continue their hopes for a New Year's Six bowl berth? They lost the chance of winning the SEC West due to LSU's victory over Arkansas, and then Ole Miss's loss to Bama. Are they going to be hung over after that Alabama game, upset about it, and a cold night in Fayetteville? A loss to Arkansas would just be a damper on the season, but also could ruin Ole Miss's shot at a New Year's Six bowl berth. So watch out for Ole Miss this weekend, potentially on upset alert against the Razorbacks, but they are at 16. UCLA down 9-17 following their upset loss to Arizona. Some could say we could lower them more. Some could argue that we could have UCLA lower in our rankings. That was a bad performance from a Bruins team that we did have in the top 10, had at number 8 in our rankings. Was hoping to have a top 10 showdown between UCLA and USC this Saturday. The battle for LA didn't happen. The Bruins laid an egg against Jaden DeLora and a Wildcats team that has a very underrated and underappreciated offense, we should add. So UCLA plummeting 9 spots. They can still continue to play for a Pac-12 title, possibly, if they can beat USC, but will they be able to be up for that game after losing in such heartbreaking fashion to the Wildcats? UCF is now the leader when it comes to the New Year's Six bowl berth among Group of 5 teams. The game between Tulane and UCF this last Saturday was a top 25 matchup. We said the winner is the front runner to get that New Year's Six bowl berth. The loser is going to have some work to do. UCF went on the road, took down Tulane. The Knights are up 5 spots in our rankings, and now the front runner to make a New Year's Six bowl game. Still a lot of football left to be played, though, guys. UCF still would need to win the American, either against Cincinnati again, maybe Tulane again. Who knows who it could be against? But Gus Malzahn's squad is looking really good. Rushed for over 300 yards against the Green Wave on Saturday. Notre Dame only up 2 spots following their win over Navy. Crushed Navy in the first half. Let the midshipmen come back in the second half. Still held on for a victory there. Marcus Freeman's squad starting to kind of turn a corner, what feels like, following that big win over Clemson. Narrowly surviving Navy. Could salvage this year instead of a big showdown, maybe a playoff showdown for USC at least, in the season finale when Notre Dame takes on the Trojans. So watch out for that game. Could be in for a fun one in the season finale. But Notre Dame in the top 20 at 19. Florida State coming into our rankings. Did not have them in our rankings last week. Had them just on the outside looking in. They're now number 20, dominating Syracuse on the road 38-3. Give a lot of credit to Mike Norvell's squad, guys. He is putting up fantastic offensive numbers, but the defense is something that's not getting nearly enough credit. Florida State is looking really good. Crushed Syracuse, crushed Miami the week before. Again, not necessarily world beaters, but still very impressive. And Florida State, I feel like, has finally turned a corner under Norvell after a few years of, no bowl games, poor performances. This year is very different. The Seminoles are the real deal. We do have them in the top 20. Tulane dropping 2 spots following their narrow loss to UCF. Don't deserve to get punished too greatly there. But obviously the Green Wave are now 8-2 on the year, still keeping their AAC title hopes and maybe New Year's Six title hopes alive. Cincinnati, though, still in the hunt. Look at this, guys. 3 straight Group of 5 teams here in our rankings. Tulane is there. You've got Cincinnati there, who was unranked last week, beat ECU, a good ECU team. Beat them by 2, 27-25. We do have them in the top 25 now. Not a bad resume for the Bearcats. Coastal Carolina, we have at 23. The Chanticleers are 9-1, clinched the Sun Belt East Division this last Saturday with a win over Southern Miss by 3. Watch out, guys. And they did it, we should mention, without Grayson McCall. So a fantastic performance by Jamie Chadwell, the Chanticleers, who could win the Sun Belt Championship here in a few weeks and could flirt with a New Year's Six Bowl bid possibly, although I think the teams in the American are going to have a stronger strength of schedule than Coastal Carolina when it comes to those rankings. But give credit to them. 9-1 on the year, and then winning a game without your star quarterback, pretty dang impressive. Oklahoma State, also unranked last week, in at number 24. They beat Iowa State 20-14. They will be ranked in Bedlam, at least in our rankings, when they take on Oklahoma. But Oklahoma, of course, will not be. The Sooners are shocking 5-5, losing on the road to West Virginia. And I want to say, we told you so. We predicted West Virginia to beat Oklahoma in the preseason. They called us a madman. We were right. We were correct. And then Texas, we do have in our top 25 still. Some people believe that Texas should be out of the rankings. There was no team behind Texas, no team on the outside looking in that I could justify putting in at 25 over a Texas team that we did drop 9 spots, only losing by 7 points to the number 4 team in the country. Texas, I still think, is a dang good football team. TCU clearly was just the much better team on Saturday. The defense played phenomenal for the Horned Frogs, but I still like Texas in at 25, just a few plays away from still being in Big 12 title contention. Narrow loss to TCU, narrow loss to Oklahoma State, narrow loss to Alabama. This is still a good Texas team, and again, there's no other team outside the top 25 right now that I could justify putting in at 25th ahead of Texas. So they are barely hanging on, but they could easily fall out this next week with a tough game on the road against Kansas. So there you go, guys. There's your Week 12 GE Top 25 heading in to this next weekend of college football. We are anxious to get your thoughts. Leave your rankings and your predictions down below, and let's get ready for another huge weekend of college football. One that doesn't have too many ranked versus ranked matchups, too many marquee matchups, but is still very, very important in setting the course and setting the tone for the rest of these conference races, and most importantly, the playoff race as well. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and check out everything down in the description below, including those expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. Do not miss out on that offer, guys. One of the lowest prices in the country for some of the best spread picks in the entire country, hitting 62% against the spread, beating out over 80% of the national analysts and handicappers. If you want guaranteed money right in your pocket, this is the place for you. Check it out down in the description below. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.